I just found the two of them to just be so inspiring. And the one thing that I find is so amazing about social media, and I think everyone here knows I'm a total social media junkie, so I love it. I live for it. But the one thing that's so interesting is think about, where else in time in the past could anyone truly become anything that they wanted to be? When else could you just turn around and go from engineer to writer, or, from working in catalogs to now doing a conference, reaching, a very large amount of people every single week? And I think that is what's so exciting about the time that we're living in and social media and blogging is anyone truly can become anything that they want to be if they really work at it. And like Monica said, you're going to go through some zigzags, and it takes a lot of time, and you question yourself if it's worth it. But if you really stay true to it, you can grow a business from social media or from blogging. So the next two speakers, I am so excited to have them here. I actually have followed their blogs for a very long time and was absolutely thrilled when they agreed to speak. So we have Stephanie from Plain Chicken. Come on up, girls. And Liz from, I never know how to pronounce this, Hoosier Homemade? Is that right? Okay. They are just great bloggers. They have a huge following. And what's most amazing about it, and I actually did not know this until I asked them both to speak, is that their husbands now work with both of them, and it all started with their blog. They have taken it to a level that most of us, hope to achieve one day, and their blogs have turned into their family business, which is just fantastic. So welcome, Liz and Stephanie. Looking forward to hearing more about you guys.
Getting the logistics worked out here. I'm pushing forward and it's, okay. There, okay. Okay, Liz and I are gonna talk about the business of food blogging. We're gonna tell you a little bit about our stories. Then I'm gonna tell you how to set up a business. We're gonna talk about how to make money, hold it, okay. We're gonna talk about how to set up your business, how to make money, some quick overview of ad networks, how to approach a brand. A lot of people asked us to cover that area. Liz is gonna talk in specifics about when you work with the brand on a sponsored post. And then we're going to get into accounting, which I call the necessary evil of blogging for a business. It's always fun to make the money. It's not fun to keep track of what you're doing. And then we're going to talk about what you can expense and get into nitty gritty. A lot of you had a lot of questions about that. So I'll let Liz start with her story, and then I'll get into the setting up your business part.
All right. Hi, everybody. As mentioned, I'm Liz from Hoosier Homemade. We actually have two blogs. Our second blog is Pocket Change Gourmet, and that's a food-only blog. Hoosier Homemade is more of a lifestyle blog. We do DIY, crafts, all of that. I started in February 2009, and I kind of just started because I wanted to. I knew that I could make a little money, and that was, honestly, that was the goal. I either needed to work outside of the home, or I needed to stay home and make some money. I had, at that point, 7 years ago, I had teenagers, and they were heading towards college, and we had to have that income. So long story short, I thought, yeah, I could make a little money. So I went to Blisdom, which was my first conference, and I came home and I told my husband that I was going to do this and we were going to make some money. And he said, all right, awesome, I'll give you 3 months. Okay, well, I am a very competitive person. I grew up in sports, and I'm very competitive. So you are not going to challenge me because I will win. So, and it wasn't a mean and spiteful 3 months ultimatum. It was just we needed money, so he was going to give me 3 months. Well, long story short, again, 3 years later, he then quit his full-time job and came home to work with me. So, needless to say, I won that. I won that challenge, and that was awesome. It was a great thing. So, that's what we do. We work full-time together, and during the time that I grew the business, I worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week. And I know that's not cool for everybody because it totally depends on your family, your situation, your children. But my boys were teenagers, and they were like, yeah, I don't even want to, I didn't, definitely. So, so anyway, and now we're just so busy that I still work. I do try to take 1 day off a week, but I'm still working 12, 14-hour days. But it's, it's awesome. It's great to do something that you love.
All right, let's see. Next. Okay. All right, I'm Stephanie Parker, and I blog at plainchicken.com. I started the blog back in 2007. It was totally just recipe storage. I would take a recipe to work, and people would be like, oh, I love that. Where'd you get that recipe? I'm like, I don't know. I threw that piece of paper away. So I just did it to keep a track of what I was making, and so people asked for the recipe. Then I saw there was like this whole world of food blogs, and I'm like, ooh, I gotta take pictures. And then I'm like, ooh, I gotta take good pictures because, So I started working on it, and in 2012, I started monetizing the blog, and I started making more money on my blog than I was being a corporate controller, and so I quit. My job was I call it a soul-sucking job, where if I had gotten hit by a Big Mac truck on the way home, I'd have been like, cool, don't have to go to work tomorrow. So I was very excited to be able to quit and do the blog. And let's see, before that, I was a corporate controller, as I said. I did that for 18 years, and I'm telling you this, and I have a BS in accounting and an MBA from Auburn University, and I tell you this just so you know that the information that I'm giving you is what I did for a living for over 18 years. I run Plain Chicken the same way I run the companies that I worked for. I was the controller for a $150 million telecommunications company, and I used the same basic principles that I kept track of my revenue and expenses for that company that I do for Plain Chicken, just on an obviously much smaller scale, because I'm only like 100 million, not 150. So, but okay. Setting up your business. The first thing that I really suggest that you do is you set up an LLC. There are 3 kind of ways you can do this. Like, you can have your accountant do it for you, the person who does your taxes. You can go on LegalZoom.com and do it. It is so easy. My brother is a photographer and had to have a business set up, and he just went on LegalZoom and did it. It takes 5 seconds. They mail it to you. You're good to go. I think it's like $100. Or you can do it yourself and go online to your state government's website, and it'll give you links to do it. I have a friend, she had a daycare business, and she said, oh, I just went online, clicked on the things, filled out the form. She goes, it took like 10 minutes. And that's free for you to do it yourself. And then you might ask, why do I need an LLC? My number one reason is so you're not sending your Social Security number out over the internet to everybody and their brother, okay? That just keeps you protected. Because once you get an LLC, you'll file for a tax ID number, and you send that out and don't send out your Social Security number. So identity protection. And then it's also, there's the separation between you and your company and your blog. So it's kind of just separates your assets from your company's assets. So it's just that legal separation so that you don't lose any of your assets or anything happens to your blog, somebody sues you because they got burned when they made that recipe, that it won't be you, it's your company. And then as you start to make money, you may want to start paying yourself a salary. And people always talk about this, quote, self-employment tax. Well, what the self-employment tax is that when you're self-employed, you have to pay what your employer would normally pay for your Social Security and Medicare tax. So as you start to make more money, you will want to pay yourself what they call a reasonable salary But then any money that you profit after that, you don't have to pay the Medicare and Social Security on it. So you'll, like your profit, so you won't have to pay that, so you can, quote, save the money on that, okay? And that's something, as you grow and you make more money, that's a very good talking point and a planning point with your accountant so that you can try to save some of that money. And any money you spend setting up the LLC, you can write it off as an expense, and then, like I said, you'll need to get, after you have your LLC set up, you file for a federal tax ID number. You can do that online yourself. Your accountant can do it. It takes like 5 seconds. And then I also suggest setting up a separate bank account for all your blog revenue. It just also keeps the liability of your company and you separate. And it also just is so that you're not giving out your personal bank account all over the internet as well, because people ask for it. Okay. A lot of people, when we posted questions on Facebook, asked about trademarking. I just did my trademark for plain chicken, and you can do it yourself. If you feel like you can do it, go for it. I didn't do it myself because if you make a mistake on the application, they send it back and you don't get your money back. So it's like $700 or something. I was like, I can't make that kind of mistake because I can't keep trying until I get it. So I used an attorney, and you can use any attorney that you want to. I contacted several. Some do by the hour, some do flat fee, some do like I'll charge you X for the search, some do I charge you, and then I'll charge you X to file. I found a guy in Birmingham after I contacted people all over. And it was Michael Douglas, and he charged me a flat fee of $1,500. And obviously, this may not be something that you want to do when you're first starting out. You do have trademark protection when you start using it, because they asked, when did you start the blog? I said 2007. It's like, well, even if somebody's using it, if you started before, you probably have trademark rights to it because you were using it first. So you don't necessarily have to make that your first step. I've been blogging a long time, and I just did it this year. So he charged me $1,500. That's his information if you want to call him. I don't get any kickback from it. I just know that when you go places, you're like, I didn't know where to start. So I just started emailing people to find out what they did. And that's what I did. Now, this is where talking about how to make money, because that's what we do when you're blogging as a business. You want to make money. The easy thing is Google AdSense. You just go fill out an account, drop those in. That's easy. Then there's a lot of ad networks, and those can get crowded in that area. Like BlogHer is now She Knows. AdThrive. I use BlogHer and AdThrive. I know a lot of people use the Blogger Network, and it depends on. They have page view requirements, and I know that they vary what they offer with those page view requirements. I had a lot of good success with Sovereign, which used to be legit. And then I use a company called Cox DS. You can go online, it's just Cox DS, and they have ads. It's just, put the code on. Ziplist, which turned into Epicurious, they are starting an ad network like BlogHer or She Knows. It's new, and so I can send you her information if you want to email me. But they reached out to me. They wanted me to assign my traffic to them because they're trying to get into a BlogHer type ad network. Then there's also sponsored network posts for sponsored posters networks of places you can go. Tap Influence is a popular one. Social Fabric, Clever Girls, Massive Sway. I used Tap Influence. Then a friend of mine gave me some more. She said themotherhood.com. mommypr.com. I know that Burst Media, I see a lot of people use Burst Media, and it's an ad network with all of that. And then there's, I think, Glam. I see a lot of people use Glam, and it's now, I think, Mode Media. So those are some places that if you wanted to, check them out. And then for me, I use AdThrive, and I think Blogger Network does the same. They manage all my ads. So I'm in some ad networks, and they handle what they call the daisy chain and waterfalling, because I don't know anything about that. So they handle making sure that the highest paying ads are on my blog at any given time. And I started with them this year, and my revenue, I've made as much in the first 6 months as I made all of last year with having the Blogger Network take over managing those ads for me. So unless you're really good at it, and I don't pay for for AdThrive, they just put another ad on my blog and take all the revenue from that one ad. So for me, basically, I feel like it's free because I don't know how much they're making off of me, but I don't care how much they're making because I've made a lot more money by having them handle that for me. Okay. Another question a lot of people asked was how to approach a brand. A great way to find PR contacts is to search online for the PR releases, because at the bottom it'll say for PR contacts, contact this person, and it'll give their name, email address, and phone number. So that's a great cheat on how to find them. Reach out to people on social media. Like if you want to work with the brand, start tweeting them or Instagram and tagging them. Tag them on Facebook, like some of their stuff. It's just that way they can start kind of getting on your radar. And I can tell when a brand's going to approach me because they follow me on Twitter. They follow me on Instagram. They start liking my Instagrams of my cats. And I'm like, I know you don't like that cat, but it's okay. I'm like, oh, I tell my husband so-and-so's about to call me. But, and then they always want me to work for like a can of pineapple. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that, but thank you. And so you can email the PR contact when you're ready to start, when you're like, okay, I want something from these people, and you talk about your blog, what do you do? I'm going to give you the example. Talk about your following and what kind of engagement that you have. Tell them what you want. Like, do you want a free product? Do you want them to do a giveaway? Do you want a discount code for your bloggers? For your readers, what do you want? And then I always attach my media kit, just so, they have it. I think I have to go this way. I was going to go like 5. Okay, so this is like what my little canned letter is. It's like, hello, whoever it is you found in your PR press release. My name is Stephanie, and I run a food and travel blog called Plain Chicken. Plain Chicken is all about, and then your blog topic, quick and easy recipes for families, limited ingredients ready in about 30 minutes. The blog has a loyal following and very engaged audience who are always interested in reading about whatever it is I'm trying to get for free. They may not, but I may want it, so that's what my readers are excited about. Okay, and then so you go, we have over X page views. If you have a lot of page views or what this is, and X followers on, pick your best social network. Do not throw out that you got 700 followers on Instagram if you've got like 50,000 on Facebook. Pick your best features and throw those out there. And if you don't have a lot of page views, but you've got a lot of pick what is best for you because you're selling yourself in this quick email pitch. All right, so I'm working on a project about whatever it is you want for free, and would love to feature your company and product. Would you be interested in partnering with Plain Chicken and providing, if it is samples, providing samples and sponsoring a giveaway? I know my readers would love to hear about your products. You can see previous examples of sponsored posts here and just put your link if you've done any. And then I've attached my media kit for a review. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'll look forward to working with you. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. Because you're not going to pitch somebody and say, hey, do you want to pay me $1,000 to write a sponsored post for you? No, but most people will give you a free whatever it is you want for the exposure because you've got an influence with your readers. And even if you're smaller, I think smaller blogs have a lot more engagement because you have a smaller group of people that you're working with. So I know my readers love this. Where if you have hundreds and thousands and millions, you may be like, I don't really know. It's hit or miss. I don't know how many people I have. So now Liz is going to talk about the anatomy of a sponsored post.
Okay, so if you are interested in doing sponsored post, this is what we're going to cover. And of course, obviously, this is not for everybody, but many people ask me about sponsored posts because 80% of our income in our business is with sponsored post. So first, you're going to do, what we're going to talk about is email. So what I'm talking about is not directly pitching a company like Stephanie just talked about. This is about if a company approaches you and says, we have X, Y, and Z product, and we want you to feature our product. Well, that's totally up to you. If you want to work for just a product, That's, again, totally up to you. But if you don't, that's what we're talking about. So the first thing you're going to do is, I'm going to go through the steps that we have done to build our business when we're working with brands. So you're going to return the email as quickly as possible. I cannot tell you how many times I've had a brand say to me, "Thank you so much for your quick response," because it is the PR person's job to get her job done as quickly and efficiently as she can. And so if you're going to email her back immediately or even within a few hours, then that makes her job easier because she can move on with the next thing that she has to do. So my first suggestion is to return the email as quickly. The next, what you're going to want to do also is to decide about if you're going to pitch back, if you're going to say, "No, I really can't work for that can of pineapple, but I charge X, Y, and Z." Okay, you need to decide that. And then the examples of the pitchbacks that I have for you, if you are interested, we have started a Facebook group. It is called Bloggers Support Network, and my husband and I are basically helping and sharing with bloggers what we do to work with brands and how we are building our business. So please feel free. We would love to have you. In that group, you can see in the files an example of our pitch letters. Depending on what you're pitching, there's a couple different letters in there for you. So again, Facebook groups, and it's Bloggers Support Network. And then this is really a no-brainer, but you would be really surprised at the amount of people that I see on Facebook and other social media saying how they responded to a brand. A brand, again, the PR person's job is to not only work efficiently, but to save that company as much money as she can. So if she's going to pitch you for a can of pineapple, that's her job. Her job is not to pitch you for a $1,000 post. Her job is to keep as much money for that brand as possible. So, I've heard bloggers respond in a very negative way to a company offering products. And it's just really important to stay professional. Thanks so much for thinking of us. We would love to work with you. Here's what we charge, that type of thing. So the next thing, after you get your job, so you're going to email back and forth and it's all set and they say, "Sure, we're going to pay you to do this, or we're going to give you whatever you want to do that," and all of the negotiating is done. The next job is to schedule. So we have a very large, in our office, we have a large wipe-off board that we keep everything on, and we have a calendar on it, and all of the sponsored posts are on that board. And so it happens a few different ways. So we write it on the calendar, on the board, and obviously you can use whatever works for you. I am a pen and paper girl, so I have to write it down and mark it off. So then, if you have an editorial calendar, that's, whatever works for you is fine. Okay, so after you have it on your calendar, and I think I might have mentioned a little bit later, but when you're marking it on your calendar, be sure to remember and take note, because you need to make sure that if the brand is asking for a draft, don't mark your calendar that it's due, on X date. You need to mark your calendar that it's due on the draft date so that you be sure that you have that to the brand. And I feel like the brands are asking more and more for drafts. Like, we used to never do drafts, and I think in the last 6 months I've done more drafts and sent them to brands than we ever have before. And then the planning part. And we can get into that later if we don't have a whole lot of time to get into all of the details about what we do to plan our recipe and our ingredient. But plan your recipe if you need to try it. Many of our recipes are some that we have done over the years. my mom did them, so I know that they're good. I don't have to test them 3 or 4 times. So depending on your recipe and your ingredients, you want to do the planning. And then the content creation, of course, the photography, and the photography session. I'm not going to go into photography because there's going to be a photography session with my friend Faith on Sunday at 10:30. So be sure to see that tomorrow. And what we do is we have a sheet of paper that has everything that the brand asks. So you're going to write your recipe on there, and you're going to write, if they want 5 Facebook posts, they want 10 tweets, they want a couple Instagrams, they want a pin. If they want a specific, some of the brands ask for a promoted pin to use. It just depends on what the ask is and what they want. So be sure to mark all of that down so that you know when you are doing your shooting that you know exactly what that brand is asking for, because every brand is different. And some brands are like, yeah, sure, just do whatever you want. I don't care. And then there's other brands that want the product in the shot. There's some brands that don't want the product in the shot. They want the product in a bowl. It all depends. And so next is social media. And then after your post, you're going to do the content creation, you're going to write it, you're going to post it. Social media, and our Pinterest manager, right now, she pins our post 5 times the first day. And then if it's really popular, then she spreads it out. And then, of course, your usual, whatever you're going to share on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, all of those things. The other thing that we do, because it's really hard, especially in social media, to find those posts, especially if a brand comes back to you 2 or 3 weeks later and says, oh, and by the way, how many times did you tweet? I don't remember because, it's hard to find those in your stream sometimes. So we actually use a specific hashtag. Our hashtag is HHHome, and I just add that to all of our sponsored posts. So I can go into that hashtag, and I know that that's my specific hashtag. Hashtags are kind of funny, though, because sometimes you really have to hunt for one that's not being used. And I have actually, with that one, I've seen a couple people pop into that same hashtag, but it was kind of random. So anyway, so that's another tip to be able to find your information to send to the brand. Reporting. So the next thing, again, gathering your links, and even sometimes a brand will ask you for a report. How many page views were there on the post itself? How many social media? How many shares on Facebook? All of those kind of things. And so even if they don't ask for that, we send that to them. Because that is brand relations. You are building the relationship with the brand, and you are, again, making that PR's job much easier. And if she doesn't have to email you, or if she doesn't have to go and hunt for them, then you're going to be top mind next time when she has a sponsored post. So next is invoicing. And many times, the networks like Tap Influence, they don't require an invoice, but we always make an invoice just for our own records. The other thing that we do is we mark our calendar. So if I send an invoice to a brand, we mark our Google Calendar for a reminder 5 days later. That says to me, make sure that that brand received my email with my invoice. And then again, at the due date. So typically it's 30 days after you invoice a brand is when you would expect payment. So mark your calendar again for 30 days so that you're reminded, because food blogging, well, blogging in general is just really, really busy, and life is busy, and you just forget, so it's just much easier to mark your calendar so that you remember. And then make sure that they have a W-9, and back to what Stephanie had said, if you're sending...
That is with your company's tax ID
Right.
number, not your social security, see?
Right. So make sure that you have the right information for them with your LLC and your tax number and all of that. And follow up with the brand. You know, ask them, did you like it? Did you like what I did? We would love to work with you again. So, and another tip is something that we have done from the very beginning of my blogging career is 110%. So if the brand asks for A, B, and C, I'm going to give them A, B, and C, and X, Y, and Z. 110%. You're not just going to skim by what you think that you can do. Go above and beyond. Do great things, and the brand will come back.
And then I just put in here about reviews, giveaways, and free products. You know, your ultimate goal is to build an audience, because we don't really sell anything. Like, we're not taking credit cards, and because that's what people are confused about when I tell them my blog. Like, well, what do you sell? It's like, I don't sell anything. I just want you to, I give you a free recipe if you just come to my blog. They don't understand. So that's what you want to be selective when people do approach you, so that you're not doing something that alienates your audience, because that could be the worst thing. And then I'll put in here, do not work, you don't work for free, but that doesn't always mean money necessarily. Like, if you're small and you're trying to grow your traffic, because I did things that I would not do now when I was first starting out. Great exposure, getting out there is great. And then do not be afraid to say no. I can't tell you how many crazy offers that I get emailed, and if it doesn't fit, I just won't do it, just because I can't afford to lose readers that I've worked so hard to gain. And then this was big a while ago, Blog Hops Award and those self-interviews. You can skip all that if you don't want. Thank you, comment on their blog, but you're like, I am not putting that on my blog, because that does not fit with a food blog. You just want to ask yourself if the review and the giveaway is worth the advertising space and the time that it takes you to create that post, if you're doing it for just that product. I had Mazola Corn Oil email me. We want to give you a bottle of corn oil and have you do a giveaway for a bottle of corn oil. I'm like, really? That's not even $4, okay? I'm like, no, but thank you so much. But then I did a Martha White post for a much reduced rate, and then that turns into a blog ambassadorship. So you might be like, okay, I can do this. I like their product. It's not going to take any time to develop the recipe. I'll do it. So now that you're making money, we got to talk about the business, really the other evils. I call it the necessary evil of blogging as a business, okay? Software. A lot of people ask about software. You can certainly use QuickBooks. You can download it and put it on your computer, or you can do it online. Keep in mind, QuickBooks is much more complicated than other methods, and I'm going to give you the easy method, and this slide did not translate the way it did on my computer to up here, so sorry. If you're not an accountant, QuickBooks can be very confusing. I used it only because we have payroll. My husband and I get a paycheck from Plain Chicken, and QuickBooks will do payroll for me. So that's the only reason I use it. But before I used QuickBooks, I used a Google Docs spreadsheet, and I track the revenue and expenses, and it is free. And one other thing about revenue tracking, like Liz said, you're going to get money from people, and you're going to get a 1099 at the beginning of the following year for anybody you worked with that you made over $600 with. So if you have invoices and a spreadsheet that I'm going to show you, you can easily go back and make sure that what they said you made is what you said you made, because you would be surprised that people don't have good accounting systems. And so just make sure, because you're going to pay tax on this money, and so you don't want somebody telling you made more than you did. Okay, save your receipts. Every time you spend something on your blog, save it, and I keep them in an envelope like this. I put, like this says July 2015 expenses. So every receipt that I have for July will go in an envelope like this, and then I file it away at the end of the year. So if I get audited, my accountant has a question, I spent that in July, I go back into this envelope. I don't have any fancy filing system by vendor, it's just in this envelope. This is supposed to say, keeping track of revenue and expenses. So I have this Google spreadsheet, which I thought maybe we could click over and go on the internet for it, but this is just a screenshot. So each have a tab in Google for each month. And so the left-hand side where it says January 2015, That's a summary of the other columns. So it has revenue. So you say you make $1,000 from BlogHer, $1,000 from Tap Influence. Well, that you don't have to just add up those totals on January. It already did it for you on the other column because I have the formula in it. But then on the side, I have this in the same month, so I can see what I made in the month and what I spent and how much I made. I just put in, I went to Publix on January 4th and spent $75, and then I put categories. So like groceries or props, like Pick Monkeys, $33 or whatever it is. That's under dues and subscriptions. I did like say you do an Amazon giveaway on your blog. Well, I just put that in the giveaway category. And we're gonna talk about what you can expense. And then like AT&T, your cell phone bill, that's your telephone, internet, and then mileage. If you drove somewhere, you can do mileage, and we're getting ready to talk about all that. Okay, what can I expense? First things, you're a food blogger. You can expense groceries. For things you make, you can expense it. A lot of people said, what percentage? Well, 100%. If you make a recipe and it calls for 1 cup of cheese and you have to buy the bag of cheese that comes with 2 cups, you expense the whole bag of cheese because it is not possible for you to buy 1 bag of cheese, 1 cup of cheese, okay? Expense the whole thing. A lot of people have said in the past, oh, I just hate that if you make a recipe and it didn't turn out, you can't expense it. No, you can. That's called recipe development. I mean, the iPhone wasn't made on the first try. You know, the iPhone took a long time, and so they expensed all of those expenses related to creating that end result. You can expense it. Most everything I make in my house is for my blog, but I go to Costco and buy, I buy the big bags of cheese because I like a lot of cheese. And so I don't prorate that expense. I'm going to use it for the blog. But like if I go to the grocery store and I buy turkey and pita pockets, I'm just going to mark those off my bill and reduce the amount that I'm expensing in my spreadsheet, okay? Appliances, if your microwave dies, if your stove dies, if your refrigerator dies, you need that to blog. If you're a food blogger, you can expense your appliances, okay? That's a business expense. Home office expenses, you'll want to keep a separate spreadsheet. I just do it by month, and for your utilities, your homeowner dues, any repairs that you do on your house, because you and your accountant will determine how much of your home you're using as an office, and you can expense a percentage of those, okay? That just helps you not pay the government more money. Mileage. The IRS standard rate for 2015 is 57.5 cents per mile. So in my spreadsheet, when I'm doing things, if I drove 500 miles, I'll put my payee person is mileage, and I'll do 500 times 0.575, and that's what the dollar amount of my expense for that. So if you drove to this conference, you can write off the mileage. I just keep a calendar in case somebody audits me. You can also write in the calendar the beginning and ending odometer readings on your car. Sometimes if I forget to do that, I'll just go to MapQuest or Google Maps and just type where I went and just print that off as my backup. Conference registration fees. Anytime you come to a thing like this, those are expenses. While you're here, any meals that you may have that aren't covered, that is a business expense. So put that on your spreadsheet for your accountant. Hello. Dues and subscriptions. Like I said, PicMonkey. I get magazines like Food Network magazine. I get inspiration from that, so I expense those. Because if I wasn't doing this for a living, there's a lot of those magazines I wouldn't get. I belong to the Costco and Sam's, so I expense that because I buy a lot of my ingredients there. If you use like Rafflecopter, if you do the paid subscription for Buffer to help schedule your things, your email subscriptions like FeedBlitz and MailChimp, you can expense that. I will say I use FeedBlitz. I know they're sponsoring, but this is not why I'm saying this. You can monetize FeedBlitz. So in your emails, you can put ads, and my ads more than pay for my subscription that I get. I don't know that you can do that with some of the other services. I like money, so that's why I went with them, okay? The service is good. I mean, I can get a hold of somebody immediately. You can ask Heather if she's in here. I don't know if she is. You can ask her. I'm talking to her all the time. But they're good, but I use them because I can monetize that. That's just an extra. Blog hosting, if you pay to host your blog, that's a blog expense. Registering your domain name. Any software you buy, if you buy Photoshop, Lightroom, QuickBooks, if you do the subscription to Photoshop and Lightroom online, that's an expense. Computer equipment. If you buy a new laptop that you use for the blog, you can't blog without a laptop. So expense. Camera equipment. You buy a new DSLR, new lens, new memory cards, any of that expensive. Your props. All those extra plates that you have, all those, different silverware, different napkins, all those fun backdrops, expenses. Giveaways, if you want to give, like I have pins that I had made that have my blog name on there, and so these are like things these are like leave behinds. Like, oh, here you go, I signed my bill, here's plain chicken. So I expense those because that's me advertising. If you wanted to make a little cookbook to give away, or any kind of, like you give away an Amazon gift card, anything you give away that you paid for, you can get rid of it. And then baking and cooking tools, your cake pans, your spatulas, any of that kind of stuff. Those are all things that you can expense. Now we've said all this, and blogging is so much work. As Liz said, I spend all day, every day working. It is so hard. It's time consuming because you have to write the post. Now you have to do the social media. You have to respond to all those emails. Like, I made it exactly as written, except, and I don't know why it didn't work out. You know why. And then on top of all that, you have to do all this accounting stuff too, because you don't want to do the accounting, because my brother's like this. He's like, I just want to make the money. But for me, you make money by tracking your expenses, because every dollar you make, if you can expense some of that money, you're not paying taxes on it. So I kind of feel like you're saving money by doing this extra work, and it does take a lot of work, but I find that you really do get out of it what you put in it, as with anything in life. Have fun, be yourself. I'm very passionate about blogging, and I think that it shows in what I do, and I think that's one of the reasons I've been successful. And I don't do what everybody else is doing, because I may do some of the same things, but if everybody's posting, cute Halloween recipes, I don't have kids. We don't eat cute Halloween food on Halloween. We just eat food. So, somebody might be like me and might be like, look, I just needed a recipe tonight. I didn't need a pumpkin-shaped whatever to eat tonight. So it's your unique content that will drive people to your blog. If you're doing everything, what everybody else is doing, why am I going to come to your blog? Do something unique so that everybody sees it. And I also have a Steve Jobs quote. And so, but it's just, it just says, love what you do, find what you want to do, because he said, don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know it when you find it. And for me, it was blogging. I always loved to cook, and I'm so fortunate that I'm able to do this as a living, because I'm so passionate about it. I love it. I probably work 20 hours a day, but it never feels like work, because that's what we both talked about that. So, and I think that's it. Are there any questions for us real quick? Yes, ma'am. I repost on social media like that all the time, because if you think how you follow on social media, like how often are you like they said earlier, the life of a tweet is 40 seconds. So somebody might not have been on that 40 seconds. Or Facebook, somebody might be like I'm not on Facebook today, so I could have missed your post today. But if you post it later, then I'd be like, oh, you might see it, and So I think it's fine, and I definitely think that that it's what keeps you, like for me on Pinterest. That's if you post it 5 days later, 6 days, even a month later, if it was good, it's going to find it's going to find somebody else that may not have seen it the first time.
And also, if you're posting, especially for pinning, you're working with a brand, and like I said earlier, you're going to send them the links and so forth, and you might tell them, oh, there was 100 pins on it. Well, 2 months later, there's going to be 400 pins. Or 6 months later, there's going to be 600 pins. So you want to contact that brand again and say, hey, did you see? This post is doing really well. And again, brand relations.
Thank you so much, ladies. That was fantastic. I actually have a very important question for Stephanie. Princess Isabel likes to get her toes and nails done before either the conference or a food demo. Can I write that off? Oh, what about my hair?
If it was for a video or photo shoot, then yes.
Okay. Did you guys hear that? If it was for a video or photo shoot, then yes. Otherwise, we can't write that off, darn it. Thank you so much, ladies. I think everyone learned so much from both of you.